So picture the scene. You're standing at the base of this monolithic structure. It's all glass and steel, high-tech polymer. And it stretches way up into the night sky of a core world. A real symbol of, order and scientific advancement.
Yeah.
But inside.
Inside, it's a completely different story.
The power is dead, the lights are cut, the corridors are just silent. Except for, well, the chittering of these insectoid assassins who are all communicating telepathically.
And of course, you can't forget the sound of heavy treads, these massive industrial machines just prowling the lobby in the dark.
Right. And in the center of this whole technological nightmare, trapped in a total lockdown, is a figure that just does not fit the aesthetic at all. He's ancient. He's, what, about 2 feet tall? And he's leaning on this twisted root cane.
And yet he is arguably the most dangerous person in that entire building.
We are, of course, talking about Yoda. Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a really fascinating and, I think, often overlooked slice of Star Wars lore. This is Star Wars Episode I Adventures, #4 Jedi Emergency.
This really is a gem of a story. I mean, it sits in that really interesting period just before The Phantom Menace. The Jedi Order is at its absolute height, but you're starting to see the little cracks in the Republic forming.
Yeah.
And what I love about this particular source is that it takes the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, a character we usually just see sitting in a chair, speaking in riddles.
Right, being very philosophical.
Exactly. And it throws him into a scenario that feels, honestly, a lot more like Die Hard than it does a philosophical debate.
It is absolutely Yoda, action hero. But,
yeah,
we aren't just here for the lightsaber swings, although don't worry, we will get to those.
Oh, we will.
We are here to look at what this story tells us about the Jedi, about the nature of evil in this galaxy, and how a single bureaucratic rejection letter nearly caused a planetary catastrophe.
That is the hook that really grabbed me when I first read this. The catalyst for this entire crisis, it isn't a Sith Lord plotting galactic domination.
No.
It's not a trade dispute or some big blockade. It is, and this is quite literal, a bruised ego over a school application.
Which is, I think, the perfect place for us to start. Let's look at our antagonists. Normally, when we do these deep dives into Star Wars, we're talking about Palpatine or maybe throwing, these grand-scale geniuses.
Right. Criminal masterminds.
Here we have Groot the Hutt. Now, I know Hutts. They're usually crime lords, aren't they? You've got Jabba the Hutt, Zero the Hutt.
Yeah.
They run these massive cartels.
Exactly. And that's what makes Greedo so interesting. Hutts are generally gangsters. They value power and they value money, territory, and, respect within that criminal underworld. Greedo is distinct.
How so?
He values those things, for sure, but he has this really strange fixation on social mobility, but within the legitimate sphere.
He doesn't just want to be a rich criminal.
No, he wants to be respectable.
Or rather, he wants his son to be respectable.
Correct. So we have Greedo and his son Bunda. And Greedo is essentially a helicopter parent, but with a criminal empire's budget. He wants Bunda to attend the Korlag Academy of Science Service.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. The Korlag Academy. From the way the source material describes it, this sounds like, the Ivy League of the core worlds.
That's a great way to put it. It's incredibly prestigious, it's rigid, it's highly academic. It is the exact opposite of the environment a Hutt is biologically and culturally adapted for.
Right. I can't imagine a Hutt in a lecture hall.
Hutts are these long-lived, patient schemers. They play the long game. The academy is all about fast-paced scientific innovation and, rules and regulations.
So Greedo, this Hutt crime lord, applies for his son, and the academy, predictably, says no.
They reject the application, and this is where that whole theme of the pettiness of evil really kicks in.
Yeah.
Because a rational actor, or even a rational Hutt, might look for another school, or maybe, make a large donation to grease the wheels. That's a very Hutt-like thing to do.
Sure, a little bribery.
But not Greedo. Greedo decides the only appropriate response to this rejection is to hire a squad of intergalactic assassins to literally blow the school off the map.
It's such a disproportionate response that it almost circles back around to being funny.
It does, until you realize he's completely serious and he's actually going to do it.
It really highlights the fragility of these powerful figures, doesn't it?
It really does, and the backstory here is important too. Greedo was already on edge.
Right.
He had built these prototype hyperdrive engines for the Trade Federation, and they just stiffed him on the payment.
So he's broke.
He's broke. He's angry, and now his son has been rejected from this prestigious academy. It's a perfect storm of inadequacy and rage.
And the irony, which the comic spends a good amount of time on, is the son's reaction. You'd expect Boonda to be this ambitious kid who's just crushed by the rejection.
Right. Maybe he's in the corner crying, "Father, why won't they let me learn advanced particle physics?"
Exactly. But that is not Boonda.
Far from it. Boonda is the absolute picture of indifference. There's a scene early in the story where Grudo and Boonda have crash-landed in an escape pod.
Oh, yeah, this is after their first attempt was foiled, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole backstory with Darth Maul.
A whole other backstory, yeah. Maul destroyed one of their ships, so they're stuck in a forest. Grudo is screaming into a comms unit, trying to coordinate a terrorist attack to avenge his son's honor. And
Boonda's sitting in the dirt.
just sitting there.
And he's hungry, right?
He is starving. He mentions, and I love this detail, he just ate 7 bowls of lizards before the crash.
7 bowls. I mean, that implies a staggering metabolism, even for a hut.
It does, but he wants more. And he sees this beautiful, multicolored, 6-winged insect flying past. It's described really vividly in the source material, like it's this little marvel of nature.
And then,
Thwip.
tongue out.
Yeah.
Bug gone. Yum. That is the extent of Boonda's engagement with the entire situation.
He didn't even want to go, did you? No. He explicitly states he didn't want to go to the academy because it had too many roles. He just wants to go home and eat more lizards.
So the father is risking life imprisonment and spending his last credits on a team of assassins for a son who would genuinely rather be at home eating bugs on the couch.
Precisely. It just completely strips away any glamour from the villain. They aren't mastermind strategists. They are petty, they're dysfunctional, and they're dangerous only because of their resources, not their intellect.
Speaking of their resources, let's talk about the muscle he hires. The Bartoks.
The Bartoks are an insectoid species, and they're hive-minded. Now, this is a really crucial distinction from hiring, say, a Boba Fett or a Cad Bane.
How so?
When you hire a bounty hunter, you're hiring an individual with a specific skill set and a specific motivation, usually money. When you hire the Bartoks, you are hiring a collective will, a single entity in a way.
And they operate via telepathy, is that right?
Yes, and the entire hive is driven by the queen. And in this story, the Bartok queen isn't just a contractor taking a job, she becomes an active participant.
She's got a personal stake in this.
A huge one. She's furious because the Jedi and Darth Maul previously have killed her drones, her children, essentially. She's not doing this for the credits anymore.
It's about revenge.
It's about blood. She wants to restore the hive's honor. This is personal.
So we've got a petty hut with a bruised ego and a vengeful insect queen seeking retribution. And they come up with a plan that, I have to admit, is actually quite clever in a horrific way.
It is. They decide to use a Trojan horse.
But not a wooden horse.
No, a Trojan horse made of industrial machinery. They hijack a luxury space yacht, a Sorosub model, very fancy, and they fill its cargo hold with these X-10D draft droids.
Let's drill down on these droids for a minute. The source material makes a really specific point about their design. These aren't battle droids.
Yeah.
They're not those skinny Roger guys we see in the movies.
No, not at all. These are heavy lifters. X-10Ds are, I think, 3 meters tall. Picture a massive conical torso sitting on these heavy, treaded feet. They are built like absolute tanks because they are designed for Trandoshans.
The lizard people, like Bosk from The Empire Strikes Back, why do they need specific droids?
It comes down to their physiology. Trandoshans have claws. Very sharp, very dangerous claws. But because of that, they lack the fine manual dexterity in their fingers to, say, manipulate crates or operate delicate latches or load freight efficiently without puncturing it.
It makes a lot of sense. If your hands are basically knives, you need a robot to carry the groceries.
Exactly. So the company built these X-10Ds to be their hands. They're remote controlled, they're incredibly strong, and most importantly, they are completely innocuous in a spaceport setting.
Nobody looks twice at a forklift or a cargo loader.
No one. They're just part of the background scenery.
Until the Bartoks get their hands on them.
Right. The Bartoks take these droids, they open up the chest cavities, and they install compact plasma bombs.
And a plasma bomb is not a firecracker. We're talking serious damage here.
We're talking about enough thermal energy to level a city block, or at the very least bring down a skyscraper from the inside. And they have 3 of these bombs.
So the plan is simple.
Deceptively so. Infiltrate the Korlag Academy campus, park the droids in a few structural weak points around the main tower, walk away, and push a button.
It's a terrifyingly efficient plan. So the board is set. We have the threat established. Now let's move over to our heroes. The story shifts us to the planet Rinnell.
An ice planet. It's all snow, wind, freezing temperatures, a really stark visual contrast to the sterile, high-tech corridors of Coralag that we're about to see.
And there we find Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, along with Jedi Master Adi Gallia.
Adi Gallia is a council member, a very respected one. She's currently recovering from an injury she sustained on a previous mission, which is why she's with them and not back on Coruscant.
They're just wrapping up a mission when they get a priority signal.
It's Yoda.
And he summons them all to Coralag. Now, I want to take a moment to look at Obi-Wan here. This is Padawan Obi-Wan. He's young, he's eager, but he's also maybe a little bit anxious.
Anxious is putting it mildly. He's absolutely sweating bullets. And you have to understand the context here. In the adventure immediately preceding this one, Obi-Wan broke the rules. Big time.
What did he do?
Mace Windu gave him a direct order, stay on Coruscant. And Obi-Wan, because he was worried about Qui-Gon, essentially said no and ran off to help his master anyway.
Which, to be fair, is a very protagonist thing to do. In the movies, the hero breaks the rules and it all works out.
But the Jedi Order isn't a movie. It's a monastic military order. Disobedience is a very serious offense. So when their ship is approaching Coralag, Obi-Wan is terrified. He sees Mace Windu and Yoda waiting on the landing platform, and he is expecting a full-blown court-martial.
He tries to get ahead of it, doesn't he, as soon as they land?
Oh, immediately.
Yeah.
He practically marches up to Mace Windu and just falls on his sword. It's my fault, I disobeyed, punish me.
And this is such a key character moment for Mace Windu. Because Mace has this reputation for being the stern, unyielding, by-the-book authoritarian of the council.
He's a rule keeper.
Exactly. But here, he completely surprises Obi-Wan.
He lets him off the hook.
He does more than that. He validates the insubordination. He tells Obi-Wan, because you came, fewer droids escaped. You helped save the day. He judges the action by its result, not just by the rulebook.
That's a really nuanced take on leadership, isn't it? It suggests the council isn't just about blind obedience. They care about intent, about the will of the Force.
If the Force is pulling you to help, and you help successfully, maybe the rulebook can be set aside for a moment.
Exactly. And it diffuses all that tension instantly. But it also signals to the listener and to the characters, okay, the administrative stuff is handled. Now pay attention because we're here for something much, much more serious.
And that very serious thing is a baby.
A baby. Tila Panjara, 6 months old.
This is the twist that really defines the entire episode for me. The Jedi, these powerful warriors, aren't there to fight an army, at least they don't know that yet. They are there for what is essentially a custody hearing.
It's a dispute over jurisdiction, a bureaucratic nightmare. Tila's parents were scholars at the academy. They tragically died in an accident, leaving Tila an orphan.
And the Jedi identified her as Force-sensitive.
Very Force-sensitive, high midichlorian count. So under Republic law, she should be transferred to the Jedi Temple for training and for care.
But the academy is saying no. Or more specifically, this one man is saying no, Chief Scientist Frexton.
Frexton is our secondary villain, and honestly, in some ways, he is much more chilling than Grudo the Hutt.
How so? Grudo wants to blow up a building.
Grudo is emotional and petty and loud. Frexton is cold, he's clinical, and he's profoundly unethical.
He doesn't want to keep the baby because he cares about her welfare.
Not at all. He explicitly refers to her as a specimen, a lab rat. He wants to keep her to run tests. He wants to dissect the mystery of the Force using her biology as his raw material.
That is dark. It frames this whole conflict as faith versus science, but a very specific, twisted kind of science.
It's the classic science without conscience archetype. Frexton is using bureaucracy and red tape to stall the Jedi. He's claiming he needs to run final tests before he can release her.
But Yoda sees right through that.
Immediately, Yoda knows that if they leave that building without her, she will disappear into some black site lab and never be seen again. She'll become a permanent experiment.
So Yoda's there to cut the red tape. But before he can use his diplomatic immunity, or, his lightsaber, the Bartoks make their move.
The siege begins. And it starts with this great little detail involving the pilots who flew the Jedi in. We have Bama Vook and his droid, Leaper. They aren't Jedi, they're just the drivers.
But Leaper is a total starship nerd.
Oh, a huge one. We all know that guy, right? The one who can spot a make and a model from 3 miles away.
Absolutely.
So Leaper looks up at the sky and spots the ship in a low orbit. And he says, hey, that's a Sorosub 3000. That model isn't even out on the market yet.
And Qui-Gon, being the detective that he is, he latches onto that detail immediately.
He asks who owns it. The manifest says it belongs to a Trandoshan trader named Ozik Rogel, and Qui-Gon just does the math instantly in his head.
Trandoshan shit
Plus those Trandoshan droids we saw in the lobby.
equals trouble.
Big trouble. And right on cue, the lights go out.
The whole tower goes dark.
Communications jammed, power cut, the Academy is blind and deaf, and those innocuous forklifts in the lobby, they start moving.
This is where the tactical situation gets really interesting.
Right.
Because you have 4 highly capable Jedi Knights and the Grandmaster himself. That's a lot of power.
It is. But they also have a building full of civilians, cadets, staff, children from the daycare.
It's a soft target.
A very soft target. And Yoda makes a split-second command decision. His sensors pick up the plasma signature from the droids. He realizes they're not just machines, they're walking bombs.
And he gives the order.
He orders Mace, Qui-Gon, Adi, and Obi-Wan to evacuate the civilians. Get them out. Clear the building now.
And he stays behind.
He stays. Alone.
Now, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Why? Why does the most important person in the entire Jedi Order stay behind in the death trap? Why not send Obi-Wan, the young, athletic Padawan, to deal with the bombs while Yoda supervises the evacuation from a safe distance?
It's a multifaceted decision, I think. First, from a purely practical standpoint, disarming a bomb while simultaneously fighting off a team of telepathic insect assassins requires a level of focus and mastery that perhaps only Yoda has truly perfected. It's an incredibly high-risk job.
So he takes the greatest danger onto himself.
Yes. But secondly, and I think this is just as important, it's personal for him. The source mentions he knew Tila's parents. He feels a direct personal responsibility for this child. He isn't going to delegate her safety to someone else.
And thirdly,
I think it shows his leadership style. He doesn't ask his subordinates to do the one thing he isn't willing to do himself. He leads from the absolute front.
so he's standing there in the lobby. The other Jedi are gone getting people out. It's dark. And 2 of these 3-meter-tall X-10D droids turn toward him.
This is the scene that just justifies the entire comic. Yoda is tiny. These things are absolutely massive. And he doesn't immediately ignite his lightsaber. He uses his cane.
The Geimer stick.
He uses the environment and physics to his advantage. He darts between them, uses the curved end of the cane to hook one of the droid's treads, and causes it to stumble right into the other one.
It's almost like slapstick, but with deadly precision.
It is. He forces them to crash into each other, and then he uses the lightsaber to slash the servo motors and disable them.
But disabling the droid doesn't stop the bomb inside it.
No. He rips open the chest panel of the lead droid. He sees the trigger mechanism. It's a simple radio receiver, just waiting for the detonation signal from the Bartoks. He needs to jam it physically.
But he doesn't have a toolkit. He doesn't have hydrospanner or anything.
No, but he looks over at a table in the lobby, and there's a display of student art projects, little sculptures made by children in the Academy's primary school.
Oh, I see where this is going.
He breaks off a piece of a clay sculpture. It's essentially just a hardened piece of clay, a rock, and he wedges it right into the receiver's lever.
That is wonderfully crude.
It's beautifully crude. It's that contrast again. The Bartoks have this high-tech plasma bomb inside a high-tech industrial droid, all part of this elaborate terrorist plot. And Yoda defeats it with a rock made by a 5-year-old.
It's also so symbolic, isn't it? A piece of art created by a child stops the very weapon that was meant to kill them.
Exactly. It saves the lobby from immediate detonation, but he knows it's just a temporary fix. He hands the bomb off to a damaged security droid and says, "Take this apart, you must." And then the real threat arrives.
The assassins themselves?
2 Bartoks drop from the ceiling. They are armed with cryogen whips.
Okay, explain those. That sounds like something out of a horror movie.
It basically is. It's a standard whip, but the filament is super cooled to near absolute zero. If it touches you, it doesn't just cut you, it freezes the tissue instantly on contact. The thermal shock is so extreme it causes the target to literally shatter.
It's a brutal, painful way to die.
Incredibly. And Yoda is fast, but he's in a confined space. 2 whips are hard to deal with.
So he doesn't try to fence with them?
No, he doesn't engage in a fencing match. He just uses the Force. He grips both assassins telekinetically and just slams them straight up into the ceiling. Hard.
Efficient. Very efficient.
But here's the stroke of luck, or maybe the will of the Force. As the assassins fall, stunned, their cryogen whips flail around wildly, and they accidentally strike the security droid and the bomb parts that are now scattered on the floor.
The bomb he just jammed with a piece of a sculpture.
The very same. The whips freeze the explosive mechanism instantly. It turns the volatile plasma bomb into a frozen, inert, useless lump of scrap metal.
So the assassins actually neutralize their own weapon.
Their own violence was their undoing. Yoda didn't even have to fully disarm it in the end. He just had to direct their aggression back onto their own tools.
Okay, so that's 1 bomb down, 2 to go, and the baby is still missing somewhere in this tower.
And Tila is on level 58, the lifts are dead, the power is out, and Yoda, well, he's old. He has bad knees. He can't run up 58 flights of stairs in time to stop whatever's happening up there.
This leads to my absolute favorite image in this entire story, the solution to his mobility problem.
He looks around the lobby, which has a nursery area for the children of the staff, and he sees it. A flat-board repulsor lift scooter.
A hoverboard.
It's a toddler's toy. It's got bright colors, it's got a low-speed setting, it's meant for a 3-year-old to float around the carpet in their playroom.
And the Grand Master of the Jedi Order looks at this little toy and thinks, tactical vehicle?
It works because of his size. A human couldn't stand on it, it would be too small. But for Yoda, it's a perfect fit. He hops on, uses the Force to hotwire the speed governor, and just rockets up the empty turbolift shaft.
You have to just visualize that for a second. His robes flapping in the wind, his little green ears pinned back, zooming up a dark elevator shaft on a toddler's scooter.
It's so absurd, but it fits Yoda's character perfectly. He doesn't care about dignity, he cares about results. If a toy gets him to the baby faster, he's gonna ride the toy.
So he reaches level 58, he picks the lock to the lab, which, by the way, I didn't know was a standard Jedi skill set, but I guess when you can manipulate tumblers with your mind, every lock is open.
He enters the lab level, and immediately he runs into the bureaucracy again. A security droid stops him. "Sir, you cannot be here. This is a restricted area."
But the building is under siege. There are bombs going off.
The droid doesn't care. It has its programming. It's a perfect reflection of the Academy itself rules over reality. Yoda doesn't even slow down. He just waves his hand, the droid's arm moves aside, and he keeps going.
And he finds Frexton.
Frexton is in the main lab, and he's frantically packing Tila into a box. It has this ridiculous name, a live organism comfort conveyor, the LOCC.
It's a fancy name for a pet carrier.
It's a pet carrier. He's trying to sneak his experiment out the back door during the chaos.
Frexton pulls a blaster on Yoda, which, honestly, you have to give him points for confidence, but 0 points for intelligence.
It goes about as well as you'd expect. Yoda disarms him before Frexton can even blink. But just as he secures the baby, the entire glass wall of the lab just shatters inward.
The Bartoks are back.
And they brought heavy equipment this time. They are riding a window cleaning drone, one of those massive platforms up the side of the building, and they smash through the window with something called a squib battering ram.
So now we have a standoff in a science lab, and the environment, once again, becomes a weapon.
Absolutely. During their explosive entry, a water main in the ceiling was ruptured. The floor is flooding with water. Yoda sees this immediately. He sees the Bartoks standing in the water, and then he sees a shelf full of heavy electrical equipment.
I think I see where this is going.
It's physics 101. He just force pushes the entire rack of equipment over, and it all falls into the puddle. Massive electrical discharge. The Bartoks are electrocuted instantly. The X-10D droids with them short-circuit and collapse. It's brutal, it's incredibly efficient, and it saves him the time of a prolonged lightsaber duel.
But Frexton, the scientist, he uses the chaos to run. He grabs the baby carrier and bolts into the next room.
The hydroponics lab. And this is where the story shifts genres on us for a minute. We go from Die Hard to something more like Little Shop of Horrors.
The plant monster.
Yes. Frexton hides behind this massive containment tank that's housing a giant purple carnivorous alien plant. It's all vines and teeth, and it is very hungry.
And he grabs Yoda.
It snares him in its vines. Now, Yoda is the master of the living force. His first instinct is to connect with it. He tries a Jedi mind trick on the plant. He reaches out to its consciousness to try and soothe it.
Does that work?
No, and this is a fascinating little lore detail. The plant's mind is too primitive. It doesn't have higher thoughts to manipulate. It just has this binary drive. Hungry, eat. You can't reason with an appetite.
So soft power fails him.
So he switches to hard power. Pure telekinesis. He physically forces the vines to uncurl. He treats the plant like a mechanism, not like a mind, and he just breaks himself free.
He escapes the plant and chases Frexton down the tower. They get to level 32, the aeronautics lab.
He went up to 58. Now he's chasing Frexton all the way down to 32. The chase is vertical. In the aeronautics lab, he finds Frexton cornered by another X-10D droid, the second one with a bomb.
And Yoda needs to even the odds.
This is his aliens moment.
Get away from her, you.
Well,
That exact moment,
Yeah.
Yoda jumps into the cockpit of a bipedal servo lifter. It's basically a mech suit, a power loader.
Yoda in a mech suit fighting a bomb droid. This comic really does have everything.
He uses the servo lifter's huge hydraulic claws to grapple with the X-10D, hold it steady, and then snack.
Oh.
He ignites his lightsaber through the cockpit window and just decapitates the enemy droid.
He is improvising with every single thing he can find. But then the trap springs. The remaining Bartoks seal the room. They have Frexton, they have the baby in the carrier, and they're armed with crossbows that fire explosive-tipped arrows.
It's the classic standoff. Drop your weapon, Jedi.
And Yoda drops it.
He does.
Well, he throws it. But he doesn't throw it away. He throws it through the problem. He guides the saber with the Force in this incredible arc. It slices the remote control in the lead assassin's hand, then it slices the assassin himself, and then it arcs back around just in time to deflect the incoming explosive arrows from the others.
That is just incredible speed and precision. But the last droid, the one he just fought in the mech suit, it's beeping.
The final plasma bomb. And this one is different. The Bartoks activated its secured timer. It's counting down. 5 minutes on the clock.
And the mechanism is tamper-proof.
Tamper-proof? If he tries to stop it, it blows. If he waits 5 minutes, it blows. There's no disarming this one.
He can't disarm it. He has to move it.
He has to get it out of the tower. Out of the city, even. He looks out the shattered window and sees a skiff. It's a small, dart-shaped vehicle the assassins use to navigate the tower's exterior.
He grabs the bomb. He grabs the baby carrier. He hops in the skiff and guns it.
He flies away from the tower at top speed, chasing the Bartok's getaway vehicle, that Sora soup yacht we saw at the beginning.
He's going to return the bomb to sender.
Poetic justice. He catches up to the yacht high above the city of Curamel. He lands the skiff on the deck. He pulls out the bomb, runs to an air intake vent on the yacht, and tosses it inside. Problem solved.
Except he turns around to check on the baby, and the carrier's empty.
The skiff is empty. The baby is gone. He looks up at the yacht's deck, and there she is, the Bartok Queen.
The queen herself, in person.
She's standing there, holding Tila Pinjara in one of her claws, and she does something very, very dramatic. She takes off her vocabulator, her translator device, and she crushes it in her hand.
That is a statement. So
Yeah.
That means no more talking.
She tells Yoda telepathically, "We have to assume, or just through sheer intent, you've only managed to lock yourself up with us."
And Yoda hits her with the line. It's one of the best lines.
Not locked up with you, am I? Locked up with me, are you?
Chills. It just completely flips the entire power dynamic of the scene. She thinks she has him trapped. He's letting her know that she just trapped herself in a cage with a lion.
They fight. It's brief. It has to be, right? The bomb is in the vent. The clock is ticking down the final seconds. Yoda disarms the queen, grabs the baby, and spots an escape pod on the yacht's hull.
He dives in, hits the eject button.
And boom, the yacht just vaporizes in a silent flash of light. The shockwave hits the little pod, tumbling it through the sky.
And inside the pod, is there silence? Is the baby crying?
Tila Pinjara wakes up from the motion. She looks out the viewport. She sees the pretty orange colors of the explosion. She feels the tumbling motion, and she giggles.
She giggles.
The pure innocence of a child. She has absolutely no idea she was just seconds away from death. To her, it's just a fun ride with pretty fireworks. It's such a perfect release of all that tension to end the action.
So everyone is safe. They land. The police show up and arrest Frexton. The Academy president is furious and bans him from labs for life. The Jedi are taking Tila to the temple. It's a happy ending.
For the most part. But there are two loose ends that I think are really important to discuss. One involves a pie, and the other involves the ultimate fate of our villains.
The pie.
Yes.
We have to talk about the conkeal pie mystery.
Throughout the story, and even in some previous source materials, there was this lingering question. Obi-Wan had heard a rumor that Adi Gallia had saved Qui-Gon's life at a banquet a year prior.
And Obi-Wan, being a Padawan, imagined some heroic battle. Maybe she deflected a sniper bolt aimed at Qui-Gon, or fought off a ninja waiter with a poisoned fork.
Right. He has this grand, dramatic vision in his head, and finally, in the quiet moments after the crisis is over, he asks her about it. And the reality is just so mundane.
She stopped him from eating a slice of pie.
That's it. She saw him about to take a bite and said, "Don't eat that."
Because conkeal pie is toxic to humanoids.
Exactly. It wasn't a battle. It was a food allergy warning. And Obi-Wan is so disappointed, the comic just shows him saying, all his heroic fantasies just deflate.
But it highlights the camaraderie of the Jedi, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They protect each other from Sith Lords. and they protect each other from bad catering, it grounds them.
It really does. They aren't just these mythical warriors. They are friends who look out for one another in big ways and small ways.
And then the final irony with the Hutts. Grudo and Bunda are at the spaceport, watching the explosion of their very expensive hijacked yacht. They know they failed. Grudo is swearing off Bartok assassins forever.
They've lost everything.
And they need a ride home. So they walk up to a freighter pilot in the docking bay looking for a charter. And who do they hire?
Bama Vuk, the very same pilot who flew the Jedi to Korrelite in the first place. The pilot whose droid, Leaper, spotted the yacht and started the whole unraveling of their plan.
And they have no idea. They just think he's some random guy with a ship. And Bama doesn't know who they are either. He just sees 2 paying customers. It's perfect.
And Bunda's only thought is that he just wants to go home and tell his friends about his adventure, while Grudo just wants to hide his shame forever. They fly off into the sunset, completely oblivious that they are hiring the hero of the story to take him home.
It's a perfect, circular, ironic ending. So, looking back at this whole Jedi Emergency, what is the big takeaway for you? What's the thing that sticks with you?
For me, it's about resourcefulness. Yoda didn't win this fight because he had the strongest force powers, though of course he used them. He won because he used a walking stick and a child sculpture and a hover scooter and water and a servolifter and a skiff. He used the world around him as a tool and a weapon.
He didn't just brute force his way through the problem.
No, he outthought the enemy at every single turn. He was creative and adaptable.
And he did it all for a baby he hadn't seen in months, who he only knew through her parents.
And that's the second point for me, the contrast. The contrast between the Hutt's selfish, petty destruction, willing to blow up a school because of a rejected application, and the Jedi's selfless protection. They mobilized 4 of their best council-level masters, including the Grand Master, for one single orphan.
That tells you everything you need to know about what the Jedi Order should be.
It's their ideal state.
It really is. It's a small story in the grand scheme of the galaxy, but it carries a lot of thematic weight.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture for a second, just think about the ripple effects here.
How do you mean?
Consider this as a final thought for our listeners. If Grudo hadn't been so unbelievably petty, if he had just accepted that his bug-eating son wasn't cut out for the science service,
Then none of this would have happened.
right, Yoda would never have come to Korrilag, Mace, Qui-Gon, none of them would have been there.
Right.
And if Yoda hadn't come to Korrilag, Tila Pinjara would have remained in that lab. She would have become a permanent experiment for Chief Scientist Flexton. She never would have reached the Jedi Temple.
Wow. So in a really strange way, Grudo's petty act of villainy was the only thing that could have saved her.
Exactly. Sometimes the pettiest evils lead to the greatest rescues. It's a strange way the Force moves, isn't it?
That is definitely something to think about. A Hutt's temper tantrum accidentally created a new Jedi. The galaxy certainly works in mysterious ways.
Indeed it does.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Jedi Emergency. From hover scooter chases to toxic pies, it has been a wild ride. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Until then, watch out for the plants.
And maybe don't eat the bugs. See you next time.